Baba. So you're already able to see the seven realities, right?
Yes, I am.
Okay, please start with that. Avatar Meher Baba ki
Avatar
jai.
Meher Baba ki Jai. The seven realities: existence, love, sacrifice, renunciation, knowledge, control, and surrender. I give no importance to creed, dogma, caste, or the performance of religious ceremonies and rites, but to the understanding of the following. 1. The only real existence is that of the one and only God, who is the self in every finite self. 2. The only real love is the love for this infinity God, which arouses an intense longing to see, know, and become one with its truth, God. 3. The only real sacrifice is that in which, in pursuance of this love, all things, body, mind, position, welfare, and even life itself are sacrificed. 4. The only real renunciation is that which abandons, even in the midst of worldly duties, all selfish thoughts and desires. 5th, the only real knowledge is the knowledge that God is the inner dweller in good people and in so called bad, in saint and in so called sinner. This knowledge requires you to help all equally as circumstances demand, without expectation of reward. When compelled to take part in a dispute, to act without the slightest trace of enmity or hatred, to try to make others happy with brotherly or sisterly feeling for each one, and to harm no one in thought, word, or deed, not even those who harm you. 6. The only real control is the discipline of senses to abstain from indulgence in low desires, which alone ensures absolute purity of character. 7. The only real surrender is that in which poise is undisturbed by any adverse circumstance, and the individual, amidst every kind of hardship, is resigned with perfect calm to the will of God. Given by Meher Baba in 1952, Avatar Meher Baba ki Jai.
Avatar Meher Baba ki jai. So we have a little setback, literally a setback. We did two errors yesterday. One, we did not record. Point number one. Point number two, we had not finished Chatti Baba. So we had abruptly, I mean, we had stopped. If you see the screen now, we had stopped on page 68. We have a few more pages to read of Chatti Baba. And given what happened on the recording, I would rather read Karim Baba again quickly. I know we had a gorgeous reading yesterday. Yesterday was special. I think it was spontaneous. We had a lot of fun. Ravi was there, and it was. I really enjoyed the 1.5 hours yesterday. It's a pity that it didn't get recorded, and my apologies to Baba and all of you that we couldn't. We're going to reread some stuff because of that. Yeah.
Jai Baba, Karthik, I think rereading is a good suggestion, and think it as Baba's will that we have to read again. Maybe he's pointing us to something, and so
To
we
read
read.
again, yes. So I'll quiz everybody on the words that on the meanings of the words. So we'll
Ah,
start there.
giving us.
Anyway, so yes. So let's start now. Maybe I will start for a bit and then we'll rotate between the three of us or as others join as well. Avtar Meher Baba ki jai. So this is on the page 68, and this is the chapter which has the favorite musts covered. We are doing the second one, and this is the second part of the second one. So we had stopped on 28th of May at the point where it's displayed here. So let me continue. So Chatti Baba, I think, was in Kandy in Ceylon, and of course the link with France is established. And Baba Donkins talks about how that there was obviously a relationship between Chatti Baba and France. So let's continue from that point. Avatar Meher Baba ki jai. But like a passing thunder shower, his mood soon cleared to his usual sunny joviality, and in the evening, when Baba brought him his supper, the door was thrown wide open, and Chatti Baba laughed in his gentle way. Perhaps like his strange critical explosion in Mehrabad at the time of the crumbling of France, Chatti Baba was again feeling the pulse of the suffering world, for he would often cry out, "Save them! Oh, save them!" Another time, he said, "I am very poor. Whatever I have is with my big brother." This remark was taken as referring to Baba, whom he always spoke of as his big brother. From this time forth, although he was docile and accommodating most of the time and followed Baba wherever he was taken without much resistance, he seems occasionally to have felt that the time for his release was drawing closer. In Calicut, he used often to say, "I won't stay, I must go. I am almost drowned, I must go." And then these moods would pass, and he would be as charming and loving as ever, and seemingly happy to carry on. On the journey from Calicut to Jaipur, the party had to change trains at Madras, and Chatti Baba had a further transient attack of non cooperation and took it into his head to sit on the platform close to the engine whence no one could dislodge him. The engine driver and his fireman, intrigued at the sight of so many of the Mandali doing their best to get Chatti Baba onto the train, climbed down from their cab and came and added their persuasion. This seemed to turn the scales of Chatti Baba's mood, and he was coaxed with their help into a compartment. In the house at Jaipur, Chatti Baba used to sit all night long, naked to the waist, in the open courtyard under the brilliant stars of the bitter January nights. Those of us sleeping upstairs under the warmth of three or four blankets would hear him laughing, engaging in occasional soliloquies, and often muttering loudly, "Thanda hai." Soliloquies are monologues. Thanda hai, it's cold, it's cold." Although he had a room of his own and as much bedding as he could possibly need, he preferred to sit night after night in the bitter January weather naked to the waist. Like most musts, he slept very little, and his body was capable of withstanding all sorts of physical hardships and neglect, and yet remained in a robust and vigorous condition. One day in Jaipur, he spoke again of Baba, whom, as I have already mentioned, he usually called his big brother, and said, "My big brother still has a lot of work to do in the world, but I haven't the strength to do so much work myself, to do such work myself." In Quetta, now Quetta is in Pakistan, we'll see it on the map in a bit. In Quetta, where the weather was still colder, he used to pour icy water on his bedding and sit on it. One day, there was such a monstrous hailstorm that the hailstones took 3 or 4 days to melt. And on the night following the storm, Chatti Baba sat stripped to the waist on the hail from 4 until 7 in the morning. That same day, he said, "There will be so great a calamity in the world that no one can imagine it. Even brother will kill brother, and there will be great tribulation. Then all the world will think of my big brother, Baba. At that time, he will draw aside the veil, and all will pay obeisance to him." He often used to cry aloud, "Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar." And one day, when Baba was away for a few days, he made a plaintive utterance that perhaps indicated how he shared in some way Baba's spiritual burden. For he said, "Baba is coming back, and then there will be more trouble for me." Oops, sorry. When the time came to leave Quetta, Baba and the major part of the group went by bus, and Chatti Baba was sent with the rest of the group by train. At Luxor, a junction, he became recalcitrant and reverted to his old habit of refusing to board the train. One of the party found two policemen and, slipping 4 annas quietly into their hands, asked them to browbeat Chatti Baba and by threats and invective to get him into a compartment. Chatti Baba complied with their orders, and although it seemed impossible that he could have seen the tip given so unostentatiously to the policeman, he rebuked the constable, saying, "Oh, you fellows, for the sake of 4 annas, you gave me trouble." In the next phase, at Dehradun, it seemed as if he and Baba were doing some strange inner work, for during a period of 21 days, Baba fasted, and during the fast, he continued to bathe Chatti Baba each day. So we probably see Quetta and so Quetta is not on the map, huh?
Quetta is on the northern side of Pakistan. So you have to go up.
Even further? Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, yeah, it's quite up. It's very.
Ah,
It's like near Afghanistan almost.
Peshawar,
Come to
Haripur.
the left.
Yeah,
It's down.
yeah, here. Right, thank you.
Okay.
So there it is, Quetta. Then we had Dehradun right here, right? And in fact, that area next to Dehradun is expanded. But so this is to the right of the Uttarakhand, right? Yeah, Dehradun. Yeah. Okay. So let's get back. Baba also gave orders for the windows in Chatti Baba's room to be pasted over with paper. And for days, Chatti Baba also refused food, saying he doesn't eat. So I won't, because we just heard that Baba was in seclusion and fasting. He also exclaimed one day, "Now the way is blocked. I can't go." A month or so later in Ajmer, the next port of call, Krishna, whose special job was to look after Chatti Baba and whose work there was made exceptionally difficult by very bad quarters and a very trying climate, became one day so exasperated that he felt like leaving. Chatti Baba then chided him gently and said, "You want to leave, don't you? But what's the good of it? All the world is in Baba's power, so where will you go to? Serve him now. He is the ocean. Because one day, when lots of people throng to see him, you may never get the opportunity of meeting him. So take your chance now." From these days onwards, Chatti Baba seemed to feel more than ever the call to go back to his home environment. For both in Ajmer and a few weeks later in Mehrabad, he repeatedly expressed a desire to leave. The climax, however, was postponed.
Can you just come
Yeah,
up?
sure.
When he says it's blocked. One second. Can you just come a little up, please. Up. I mean, behind. Yeah. Now the way is blocked. I can't go. Can you see the last?
Yeah.
What does it? Does it have a significance? I think it has a significance. I mean, is it that all the power is in the with Baba, or I mean, can somebody just clarify this, or can somebody in the group just now
What
the
is your
The guess
inference?
is that he knew that I am going to, be around for some more time. I'm not going to go away. That's what it means actually. I have to wait in this gross body.
Yeah, or it could be a reference to something happening in the war. So,
yes,
as France, something is
Yeah.
blocked, I can't go. We don't know.
yeah,
So, it could be
I,
either of that.
it's worth maybe highlighting if you.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe some assignment was given to him and he was to complete it. You know, a
Yeah.
new order from Baba internally. Yeah.
Probably.
So, just for kicks, I will show Ajmer as well. Rajasthan, Revar, Mathura, Amber. There it is, Ajmer. Ajmer is where a perfect master's tomb shrine is there. Moinuddin Chishti, which is very popular with the Shia Muslims, right? And he's the most widely acknowledged and respected Sufi saint in India, in the South Asian subcontinent, right? Okay, so let's continue. The From these days onwards, Chatti Baba seemed to feel more than ever the call to go back to his home environment, for both in Ajmer and a few weeks later in Mehrabad, he repeatedly expressed a desire to leave. The climax, however, was postponed until Baba and his group were at Panchgani in September 1941, and it was here that some inner crisis brought about a break in the intimate contact between Baba and Chatti Baba. One day, Chatti Baba was very angry indeed and walked away towards the bare hilltops that surrounded the house. He exclaimed to those who pursued him that he must now go away. After much persuasion, he agreed to remain another week, but on the evening of the eighth day, he walked away 3 miles along the road that leads down the long hill to Y. Some of the Mandali followed him in a taxi and decoyed him into it by promising him to take him at once to Nagapattinam. They drove him first down to Y and then up the long hill road back to Panchgani. Baba, who was then in seclusion, came out to see him, but Chatti Baba refused to get out of the car, wept aloud, and told Baba he was very, very tired and that it was time for him to go. Baba then gave him food in the car, feeding him with his own hands, while Baidul and Krishna hastily packed their bedding rolls to go at once to Nagapattinam. So at last, after nearly 2 years of intimate contact, came the parting of the ways. And as the mantle of dust raised by the vanishing car sank by the roadside, a grey veil of melancholy closed about the hearts of those watching Chatti Baba's departure. For this old man, whom all had come to love so dearly, had left them. They left, they felt, as Baba must have felt infinitely more deeply than they, that someone irreplaceable had gone out of their lives. Note, for dates and other details of Chatti Baba's life with Baba, and also of 3 contacts in Nagapattinam since he left Panchagani, see the supplement under Nagapattinam. Before that, we will see C9 for Y and Panchagani. So A, B, C, this is, yeah, C, and then 9.
Y is near Pune, Mahabaleshwar.
Oh, is it? There it is. Panchgani and Y. It's that close to, I thought it was much north or not even in Maharashtra. Okay. There it is. Pune is
From
here.
Mumbai, if you
Then
go, it
Y.
is on the way actually. Why? Why
Okay.
is on the way? Yeah. And
Okay.
there is one old uh, fort-like structure where a lot of film shootings also happen there. Why?
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Y.
Yeah.
Okay. Ah, okay.
The,
So
the,
let's go to
the
the
Pune Center,
supplement.
the Pune Center has taken efforts to go to places where related to Baba and where Baba had visited.
Okay. We can actually search Nagapattinam.
C9 was it?
Yeah, it is C9, yes. No, I'm trying to go to Nagapattinam in the supplement. Oh, I think maybe there's more in 5. Okay, hold on 1 second. Yeah. Yeah, so this is the first reference. First contacted at So Nagapattinam, 1939, 28th of November. Then he was brought to Bangalore Mast Ashram, arrives there 1st December 1939, leaves Bangalore with other inmates of the Bangalore Mast Ashram and goes to Mehrabad in 1940 April. Then leaves Mehrabad and goes to the Ranchi Ashram, arrives Ranchi on 5th July, leaves Ranchi July end and returns to Mehrabad, leaves Mehrabad and accompanies Baba to Ceylon in November, arrives at Vayangoda during the first week of November, leaves Vayangoda and goes to Kandi with Baba and party, stays in a special tiny hut in November again, and then on Primrose Hill Tea Estate, that's where the hut was. Leaves Kandi to return to India. Baba and party go by bus the next day en route for Calicut. Chatti Baba goes with Mandali and household luggage direct to Calicut. This is December 1940. Leaves Calicut for Jaipur, stays with Baba in Jaipur until February in 1941, when he goes to Quetta, stays with Baba in Quetta, again Pakistan, 1941, goes to Dehradun from there in April, stays there during April and first half of May. During third week of May, leaves for Ajmer, stays in Ajmer with Baba and party during June and part of July, leaves Ajmer with Baba and party during the third week of July and comes to Mehrabad, leaves for Panchgani with Baba and party, leaves Panchgani at his own request, returns to Nagapattinam in September, like we just read. So then later contacted by Nagapattinam in 1941 November, contacted by Baba in Nagapattinam 1942 January, contacted by Baba in Nagapattinam 1942 October. I don't know what these contacts are. These are subsequent contacts. Was it physical contact? I do not know. Or maybe there was a plenipotentiary sent. We don't know. The description and history of this mast are given in chapter 2. He's a very high mast of the 6th plane, a perfect Jamali with traits of a Jalali, and is the highest mast to have stayed so long with Baba. After Baba contacted him first in Nagapattinam in 1939 and brought with him to Bangalore, Chatti Baba remained with Baba, traveling all over India with him until at Panchgani in September 1941, he finally asked to go home. Since then, Baba has been 3 times to contact him in Nagapattinam. So Baba did a physical contact with him on these 3 dates after that. Okay, and as he indicated, there are other musts in Nagapattinam. Moti Baba, a high must of the 6th plane. This great must was first found by Kaka and Eruch on a trip of almost incredible hardships when the two of them were sent by Baba from Bangalore to bring musts for the newly established must ashram. This is the same journey on which they first met Chatti Baba in Nagapattinam, the Gauss-like must Abdul Qadir Jilani in Tanjore. What is Gauss again? First question. Gauss is where advanced soul can take parts of his body, detach and attach again. And a few others, and it's described in the account of Chatti Baba in chapter 2. Moti Baba was first contacted by Baba in November 1939, shortly after Kaka and Eruch had seen him, and again in January 1942. Okay, so with that, we can come back. And with that, we can actually rotate the reading. Ashok, you want to read a bit? This is Karim Baba. Reread.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Just look at those eyes. Shake of the photo, but still, yeah, you can tell that there's something about it. Okay, Avtar Meher Baba ki jai. Anything to discuss about Chatti Baba before we go to Kareem?
I think there is a correlation with the World War II, definitely. And when they, my only question I have in my mind is, do they also, what sort of work or assistance they would have done to Baba in correlation with the World War and the events in the world happening at that point in time?
Yeah, so those are something that's will continue to be matter of intrigue and mystery, because I don't think it's anywhere documented or we will ever figure out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, is, I think, also beyond our intellect to really understand, even if it is explained. So Baba Party,
Yeah,
it's best that it is just left at as
left there.
it is. Yeah.
Yeah, left as it is.
Yeah, because then we'll have questions and questions to ask why this, why not that, The human
Exactly.
monkey mind. Yeah. Jai
Tendency.
Baba. Monkey
Jai
mind.
Baba. Correct. Correct. Okay,
Avtar
so
Meher Baba ki
Jai
jai.
Baba.
Kareem Baba on the Calcutta pavement after his return from Mehrabad, August 1940. Note the long fingernail showing on the one exposed finger, the skeins of wire around his neck, and the pieces of old rag and wire around his ankles. Allow me, Karthik, this reminds me of crucifixion of Christ. Hello, Jai Baba. Kareem Baba. In what
Sorry,
distinct,
I was speaking in on mute. Yeah, little bit like that. Yeah.
I mean, it's similar to, I mean, the pain of the
Yes.
crucifixion. Jai, Jai Baba. Kareem Baba, in what distant deeps or skies burned the fires of thine eyes? William Blake, 1757 to 1827. The memory of this great Mazub like Zali Mast of the sixth plane will perhaps never leave the minds of those who saw him, for the face and eyes of Karim Baba radiated such a plenitude of fire and glory that in his presence even a phlegmatic man felt deeply stirred. This is not a picturesque exaggeration, and almost the Mandali Karim Baba, sorry, was named the Tiger Man because he really possessed the power of provoking a mood of admiration mixed with fear. And it is a pity that his portrait does not bring out this quality. Karim Baba jerked his head at the moment of exposure, and despite attempts at touching up, the final reproduction does not reveal the immeasurable splendor of his glance. Although perhaps no photograph could really do justice to this startling quality of his. Karim Baba had all the attributes of a complete Jalali Mast, and he had also a few traits of an ittifaqi, such as chain smoking and wearing pieces of iron here and there on his body. Baba first contacted him in June 1940 in Calcutta. Footnote 1. He sat on the pavement with his back against a wall, was clad in the filthiest of clothes, and was surrounded by old tins, rags, and a medley of debris. Entwined about his throat were tangled skeins of fine steel wire, and about his ankles, toes, and wrists were tagged ends of old rags. His fingernails were long, and his hair and beard were thick, black, dirty, and matted. Despite these strange and sordid accessories and the filth of his body, his superb face and his eyes that shone like burnished swords made one forget everything else. At that time, it was said that Karim Baba had been sitting on this section of the pavement for 6 years and had remained there exposed to sun, rain, and wind throughout the time. On this occasion, Baba fed him, gave him cigarettes, and contacted him 4 or 5 times. And he also explained that Karim Baba was the spiritual chargeman of Calcutta.
Quickly, we'll just go to the slide to see that what is the ittifaqi that's mentioned here. So again, what is ittifaqi? I'm sure now we remember because we went over it yesterday as well. So accidentally becomes a must. So the most important point is it's one of the types of must. he can have multiple features. So Itefaki with Jamali, that's what this is. That's what Karim Baba is. And it's a moderately rare type. Is dependence on cigarette and pan and chai, of course, and makes sweeping arm movements and wears rings and other pieces of iron. So that's specifically mentioned here. So that's an Itefaki must. Yeah. So with that, let's come back.
Karthik, another synonym for ittifaqi is by chance. I mean, similar
Yeah,
to
coincidence or accident or
yeah, accident.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Early in July of the same year, Baba and his group moved for 3 weeks to Ranchi on the granite plateau of central Bihar, about 200 miles northwest of Calcutta. At
So we'll
Ranchi,
just take a quick, the footnote here was a map reference to Calcutta, and then you have a footnote here for a map reference to Ranchi. So we'll just see those two places. Oh, the accident is sad. Balasore, and then I'm so reminded of the train accident India has just seen, right?
oh
It's
yes,
heartbreaking. Yeah. And especially given that it looks like human error and it's really, really sad. So Ranchi is here, and that's a northwest of Calcutta, which is on the coast. Yeah.
at Ranchi, a small mast ashram was established, which is described elsewhere in this volume. And a day or two after Baba and his party had settled into their quarters, Kaka was dispatched to Calcutta with instructions to bring Karim Baba back to Ranchi. Kaka, who had accompanied Baba for a few weeks previously to Calcutta when Karim Baba had been contacted for the first time, knew only too well the magnitude of his task and had no illusions about the intractable nature of the man whom he had to beguile into forsaking an environment and a manner of life tenaciously clung to for the past 6 years. Both Kaka and Baidun, who have done more must work for Baba than any others, believe that they can only succeed in securing such a great must because Baba gives them, for the time being, a key with which to achieve their object. It is as if they became temporarily a plenipotentiary bearing credentials from their master, and through them the must feels the coercion of a spiritual force that draws him, often against his will, to Baba.
So this word, we'll just see the meaning. Hey, okay. Why am I not able to see the meaning? That's because this is on. Yeah, plenipotentiary. Anybody wants to guess
Yeah,
the meaning?
yeah, just give me a minute, please. Just one second. Oh, I just Plenipotentiary is an adjective that describes a person who has full or absolute power or authority to act on behalf of a government or an organization. It is often used to refer to individuals who are appointed or delegated with extensive powers to negotiate treaties, conduct diplomatic missions, or make decisions on important matters. So it's like a
So diplomat. Yeah.
representative of power. Sorry.
Yeah. Go ahead.
It's like a representative of Baba, and I think if you think it's worth, we can uh, highlight the last 3 lines.
Sure. It is as if they became this one. No?
Yes, yes, yes. That's my suggestion. Yes.
Okay.
As soon as Kaka reached Calcutta, he left
Yeah.
his bags at a hotel and set about his task. Except for a brief laugh, Karim Baba made no response to Kaka's first attempt to cozen him into coming away with him, and Kaka therefore went off for a while and purchased a new kafni and lungi. He had already spun the main threads of his web by enlisting the help of two Muslims from an adjacent restaurant and had arranged for a Victoria cab to be standing in the street close by. These Victorias are relics of the days before taxis were known, and in Bombay and Calcutta, they serve as substitutes for Tongas, Jatkas, Ekkas, and all kinds of horse-drawn public conveyance that one finds in the rest of India.
So kafni, yeah,
Yeah, note for
kafni is
sorry.
yeah. Go ahead.
Note for Westerners, kafni is a long tunic reaching almost to the ankles. See the picture of Muhammad in this chapter. He is wearing a kafni.
Yeah, so let's quickly see that. It's towards the end of the chapter on Muhammad. Yeah, there it is. That's the kafni.
Yes.
There in the kafni.
There's also a reference of H1 on the map. I think H1 or was it? Sorry,
Yeah. Yeah, that's
H6.
Ranchi. Ranchi.
Okay.
So we saw it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. H6. Yeah, it's okay. I start from
Okay.
now.
When Kaka.
When Kaka returned with the kafni and lungi, he first set out to persuade Karim Baba to stand up and have his filthy old clothes replaced by the new ones. To Kaka's astonished satisfaction, Karim Baba at once stood up and, without uttering a word, allowed himself to be reclad in the open street. Now, Karim Baba was a renowned figure in Calcutta, and he has, though he was perhaps not known to the small coterie of rich, whose horizon is bounded by their office, club, and house, he was greatly esteemed by the poor and middle class masses of Calcutta. It was natural, therefore, that Kaka's activity should attract attention, and by the time Karim Baba stood on the pavement, resplendent and regal in new kafni and lungi, there was a crowd of perhaps 100 people watching the proceedings. Kaka, already sufficiently uncertain of the fickle temper of Karim Baba, now began to hope very earnestly indeed that this crowd would remain in a good mood. Such musts are held in a very great respect and are believed to hold the material and spiritual welfare of a place in their grasp, and the inhabitants are inclined to view their removal as a threat to prosperity of their hometown. Fortunately, however, the crowd remained in a mood of inquisitiveness and astonishment only, for they could hardly believe their eyes that Karim Baba, who had sat on that stretch of pavement for 6 years, was now being taken away by an utter stranger. The next step was to encroach sufficiently upon the conscience of Karim Baba to persuade him to sit in the Victoria. At first, he sat only on the step of the carriage, his feet resting on the ground, but little by little he was beguiled into drawing his bulky body into the cab itself, though even then he remained squatting on the floor, refusing to sit properly on the shiny black cushions beside Kaka. For practical purposes, this was good enough for Kaka, and with this priceless treasure at his feet and two Muslim assistants in the cab beside him, he ordered the coachman to hasten to the station. At the station, Kaka was able to find a small third-class compartment suited to his needs, and after sending one of his Muslim assistants to settle the hotel bill and bring his bags and bedding, He dismissed his two helpers and settled into the carriage with Karim Baba. Up until this time, Karim Baba had complied with all Kaka's wishes and had not so far uttered a single word. A few moments before the train was due to leave, Karim Baba suddenly made a terse utterance, saying only, "Ticket nikal gaya or gari chut gayi." The ticket is taken and the train has started. Kaka felt these words to have had a double significance, and though the outer and apparent reference was to the journey that was about to start, the inner and real meaning was that he, Karim Baba, must now go to Baba, who would give him a spiritual push. Might be worth underlining some passages there.
I'll be reading it again because these things are yesterday also we
Yeah.
technically.
We are reading it again. It's a reread.
Okay. Mhm.
As Karthik had mentioned, it was not recorded yesterday.
And also, we did not read the last part of Chatti Baba. So yeah.
Yesterday, Chatti Baba. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just any other things to discuss. Uh, if you think it's appropriate, please. Those last few sentences have got a real significance, I think. Anybody else has anything to say?
Maybe he's on the way, he feel like he's on the way to get the push. Ticket nikal gaya, gaadi nikal gayi. Yeah, that's what he mentioned. Push, spiritual push.
Now, long after the train started, Karim Baba became very restless and once or twice began to lift one leg out of the window as if he wished to leave the compartment. He said nothing, remained silent as was his wont, and Kaka was puzzled by this abrupt change in his behavior. The incident that followed, which I propose to relate it as it occurred, may possibly. Can you take it down, Karthik?
Yeah.
Possibly upset the fastidious reader, but is so singular that the picture of Karim Baba would be incomplete if it were omitted. Kaka, at first puzzled by this fidgety behavior of Karim Baba, suddenly suspected that he might want to go to the toilet and so took him there. Karim Baba at once eased himself and then picked out 3 or 4 coins of 1 and 2 annas and an odd copper piece from his audio, washed them thoroughly under the tap, tossed them in his mouth, and swallowed them. It was found later that Karim Baba would scrutinize his tool each day, and at intervals of 3 or 4 days, he would pass a few coins in this way and would repeat this extraordinary maneuver of washing and swallowing them.
Audio is basically
Yeah.
shit. Yeah.
Yeah. To those who have heard tales of anguished mothers rushing their children to hospital when they swallow 6 penny bits, this addiction to a regular diet of coins, a kind of cyclic numismophagy, where the same coins were used over and over again, may come as a revelation of the impunity with which a must may defy the conventions of health and hygiene. One, therefore, who finds such behavior incompatible with the ideas of how a spiritually advanced man ought to behave should again read Baba's explanation in chapter 1 of the indifference of these God intoxicated souls to dirt and to things of the world in general. So, numismophagy, you could look up.
Yeah, I'm just looking it up. Is more faggy. The numerous more faggy. Oh, not even showing that. Yeah. Oh, it's not even there. But yesterday we found it, right? We found
Yeah, I just look it on Chat GPT one second.
Sure.
Give me a moment, please. Miss.
You're the Chat GPT person.
Just recently learned this. Oh, it's taking time.
Okay, no problem. It's basically the process of eating coins and then getting it out of your excrement and again eating them and so on, right? So, but basically it's a coin collect numismatics, which is the more well-known term, is the collection of coins.
Yeah, that is
It's numismatics. So numismophagy is eating and excreting and then eating coins. So it's strange that this, what is obviously an odd behavior of a musk, is even recorded and has its own word for it. Anyway,
yes.
let's continue.
And it says
Let's
here,
continue.
numismophagy is not a recognized term of or practice. That's why
Okay.
it's there are no established concept or activity in the field of numismatics. That's why it's a rare
Yeah.
use.
Yes.
Moving on. In these days, when the teachings of Freud and other depth psychologists have become sufficiently widely known, a man of intelligence will not deny that, although he may present a facade to the world, even to his own conscious mind, he is, whether he likes it or not, impelled eventually by shamefully primitive urges. The average man tries to veil his basic impulses from his conscious mind and from the world, but a must, the well springs of whose being are intoxicated by divine love, who cares for no one and nothing, and who knows the world to be a passing dream, makes no bones about concealing his actions. The average man dresses decently and pretends to forget that his mind is seething with primitive urges and that his body has functions that are humiliating, and what he calls euphemistically self respect is, for the most part, merely vanity. Can I read this again? The average.
Sure.
I think this is a takeaway for all of us. The average man dresses decently and pretends to forget that his mind is seething with primitive urges and that his body has functions that are humiliating. And what he calls euphemistically self respect is, for the most part, merely vanity. A must is utterly without vanity, and like a child, he allows his body to function in its own way, remaining himself consummately indifferent to it. Nor is he an eccentric exhibitionist, for his behavior bears no relationship to the presence or absence of an audience. There are, it must be admitted, many corrupt adventurers in India who copy some outer characteristic of a saint or must with a view to commanding the respect or reverence of the masses, but the width and depth of the Pacific separates these contemptible Tartars from real musts and saints who, whose ways they ape.
So there is a word we looked up, right? Tatus. Sure. Imposter or hypocrite. It's a theatrical comedy. What is the Tartuffe is a sanctimonious scoundrel who, professing extreme piety, is taken into the household, and it's from the book. So, yeah. usage of the word seasoned criminal. Yeah, hypocrisy. So basically, a hypocrite who tries to represent himself as something that he is not. So somebody who does not have the powers merely copies one little aspect of a must and tries to claim or tries to get the space of being a spiritually advanced person. Yeah, let's continue.
Yeah, it's misleading, and you have to beware and wary of such people.
Oh, absolutely. Biggest responsibility on us is not to be shaken by all these things that are around us. And there's hundreds of them, thousands of them,
Yes.
at various levels.
If I may add, we have Baba, so we needn't go to a little shopping or get misled by anybody else.
Hmm. Absolutely. And we have to stay steadfast, beloved prayer. That's it.
Yes.
Beloved prayer is our guiding angel.
Yes. Probably a lighthouse in this world of confusion.
Yes.
Okay, Jay Baba. In
Jai Baba, that's good.
in connection with this strange habit of Kareem Baba, we might appropriately remember the words of Jesus of Nazareth. And why beholdest thou the mote that is in thy brother's eye, but perceivest not the beam that is in thine own eye? Writing as a Westerner, I recall how the grotesque appearance and behavior of many must made it necessary to jettison a lot of junk in the way of old conceptions, and so perhaps the foregoing notes, which may have seemed a digression, may help to curb the antipathy of those to whom a must is something new and strange. Karthik, I suggest that the words of Jesus of Nazareth be highlighted or underlined.
Okay.
It refers to looking within.
Yeah. And look at the eye and not the dust. So mote is another word we can look up, MOTE, which is here. Mote is tiny piece in tiny piece of dust or whatever, right? So that's what. And why beholdest thou the mote that is in thy brother's eye, but perceivest not the beam that is in thy own eye? So you have the beam of light in your own eye, and you're going and focusing on a little piece of dust in your brother's eye. That's the point. Yeah.
Brilliant. Writing as a Westerner, I recall how the grotesque appearance and behavior of many musts made it necessary to jettison a lot of junk in the way of old conception, and so perhaps the foregoing notes, which may have seemed a digression, may help to curb the antipathy of those to whom a must is something new and strange. So much then for this unusual habit of Kareem Baba. Without further difficulty, Kaka and he arrived at Ranchi, and all those who saw this Tiger Man on that day for the first time were moved to congratulate Kaka on his achievement. Each one also perceived a measure of the tensile strength of the invisible cable that had drawn so great a must inevitably to Baba's feet.
Beautiful.
Somebody had said something? Sorry.
No, I just said beautiful. I just love that line, right? The tensile strength of the invisible cable that had drawn so great a must inevitably to Baba's feet. So it's an invisible cable, but it's so much of tenacity that it's able to grab the person and bring him to Baba. So I liked that line yesterday, and I love it today as well.
Yes.
Go ahead.
You can underline it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's phenomenal magnetism. Baba now had with him two musts of the sixth plane. Firstly, our greatly beloved Chatti Baba, and now this formidable addition of Kareem Baba. Thus, in Ranchi, for a few weeks afterwards in Mehrabad, some earlier words of Baba's were fulfilled, for he had once told his mandali that he would one day have 6 plain saints living with him. In Ranchi, Karim Baba was lodged in a special little room, and Baba would go several times each day to feed him and sit alone with him. Karim Baba was usually silent, but from time to time he would utter some short phrase with a certain vigor of a lid blowing off a boiling kettle. In spite of the rarity of the spoken word, he used often to laugh and sing when Baba sat with him, and one would sometimes wake up at an odd, unknown hour in the dead of the night and hear him singing sweetly and gently to himself. It moved one strangely to hear so sweet a voice when one knew his external aspect to be so formidable, and one felt it to be a revelation of the radiance of his inner nature. There is a footnote, we can see it later. How you want to see now? Yeah. There were, of course, 6 plain musts in the Bangalore and Mera must ashrams, that is Chatti Baba and Fulwala, see chapter 4. But Fulwala was not comparable with Karim Baba. It was in Ranchi itself that Baba actually drew attention to his earlier words in this respect, which had been originally spoken or rather dictated to the reader. Unlike almost sorry, unlike almost every other must who has been brought to Baba, Karim Baba was never bathed, although Baba fed him and sat with him several times each day. At the end of July, Baba and his party, after a brief visit to Calcutta, returned to Mehrabad, and Karim Baba was brought with other inmates of the small Mast ashram in Ranchi and installed on the hill at Mehrabad. While in Ranchi, Baba wired to Pendu at Mehrabad that he should erect a special cage for Karim Baba in the old hospital building on the hill. Strong pieces of bamboo were used to make a lattice screen through which food, water, and other essentials could be easily passed to Karim Baba. When he was brought to Mehrabad, Karim Baba was made comfortable in this cage. Baba occupied an adjacent room and go and sit with him many times each day, and attend personally to his needs. After about 2 weeks, Baba explained that his work with Karim Baba was over and Kaka was called to take him back to Calcutta. He seemed strangely reluctant to go, and as the train drew closer and closer to Calcutta, Karim Baba became progressively more restless and irritable, and twice gave Kaka a prodigious slap. In Calcutta, he was taken back to his stretch of pavement, and Kaka arranged for him to be regularly cared for. There was a doctor's dispensary close by, and the doctor agreed to feed him regularly twice a day and was given sufficient money for this purpose. The photo of Karim Baba was taken at this time, and it is because this portrait was taken after Karim Baba's contact with Baba that he is seen to be wearing so clean a kafni. Thus ends
If you put on Google Karim Baba of Kolkata and click on the pictures, and there are a couple of other pictures also available. So we may try to have a look. Yeah, I just saw on my other mobile. Yeah, the place where you used to sit on the pavement.
Oh, pavement.
There's a picture. There's another picture actually. Maybe a larger picture of the second one.
This one, right?
This is this one. Yeah, that's also there.
This is from the pavement.
Yeah, Dr. D.N. Biswas, all these Bengali names are written, right? So this picture is of Kolkata. Yeah.
Correct. Maybe it's the same picture. I think this is taken from this. Yeah. It's the same picture.
Yeah, it's just a crop.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's just a crop from that. So, and it's a Baba
Okay.
site. It's a Baba site. But I think
Yeah,
this
yeah.
maybe is Karim Baba's shrine, tomb shrine.
That
Mhm.
mosque that is still there. That Karim Baba's.
Yeah, I think so.
tomb.
I think so.
It's on Facebook.
Kolkata says so. Yeah, this is the Facebook site, but Kolkata says Thoda Dur Karim Baba ka Mazar. It must be him.
Hmm.
And let's see what you see when you. This is Meher Baba's site. So no, that's it. Neem Karoli Baba, and so very
Yeah, there is
limited stuff.
there is
available.
there is also a Baba's picture bathing. Uh, if you go back, the first,
Okay.
uh, there is a picture of Baba bathing Chatti Baba also.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, that picture is also there. In related pictures, it had come already actually in my previous search.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. There it is. Huh?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
This
there.
one.
Yes, this one.
This one. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, this is Chatti Baba.
Yeah.
Yes.
There it is. Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
Jai Baba.
Okay. Jai Baba. Thank you.
I just read the last paragraph.
Yes.
Thus ends the history of Baba's contacts with this diamond soul from the dirty Calcutta pavement. For since 1940, although Baba has been twice to Calcutta, both for feeding the poor and for the contact of advanced souls, he has never again met Karim Baba. There's a footnote. Those who wish to learn the exact dates of Baba's work with Karim Baba should refer to the supplement under Calcutta.
So we'll quickly do that. Yeah, here. All this.
Okay. Karim Baba, contacted by Baba in Calcutta, 1940 June. Brought to the Ranchi Mast Ashram by Kaka, 1940 July 7 or 8. Taken to Mehrabad with other inmates of the Ranchi Mast Ashram, 1940 July end. Left Mehrabad with Kaka, who took him to Calcutta on Baba's orders, 1940 August 16. This great six-plane Jalali Mast is fully described in chapter 2 as one of the 5 favorites.
Okay. So with that, we come to the end of Karim Baba. So we can start with Ali Shah. Yeah.
Should I continue or somebody?
Yeah. Sanjay ji, are you in a position to read for a few minutes?
Yeah, do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba. Ali Shah. Whosoever therefore shall humble himself as this little child, the same is greatest in the kingdom of heaven. St. Matthew. Ali Shah at Mahabaleshwar, January 1947. This delightful fifth plane must is interesting, not only because of his many contacts with Baba, but also because he is a perfect example of a Jamali type of mast. Despite his passion for cigarettes, his blandness, his stupidity, and his superficially doll-like appearance, he possesses an utterly and childlike quality of simplicity. This simplicity is no factitious pose, but is an intrinsic quality in him to which Baba had so often drawn our attention, that it is perhaps an outer measure of the stature of his inner grace. Ali Shah came to Ahmednagar about 25 years ago in a company of another mast, each carrying a small pitcher in their hands. On the day of their arrival, they settled in the Sarjepura Dharamshala, and after a few days, the other must departed and has never been seen since in Ahmednagar. Ali Shah, who during these first few days had sat in a corner, now came and occupied a space in the center of the Dharamshala. After some months, people began to respect him, and those who felt inclined would sing before him, while others of a more homely nature would see to his material needs. Maybe we can find out if this Dharamshala is still there. Yeah.
Sure, we can. Sarjepura, right?
No, we can leave it for the time being. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. As the flow goes. Yeah. In the later years, Ali Shah became the special pet of motor bus drivers, since when the running of public buses began to be a profitable line of business in Ahmednagar. The terminus of many of the various services was a dusty open space near the Dharamshala where Ali Shah lived. The bus drivers and conductors in India are generally a rough crowd, for the exigencies of their service are such that they must sleep one night in one village and the other night in another. Their conventions are not often those of a respectable householder, and their mature is, therefore, held in disrepute. But if their morals are doubtful, their hearts are good, and many of the most boorish ruffians have a tender streak for saintly personalities. It was by such men that Ali Shah was particularly held in reverence. And in this context, one recalls how the publicans and sinners consorted with Christ, but the priests plotted to have him crucified. I find myself at a loss to do, yeah, okay. I find myself at a loss to do full justice to Ali Shah, because like the stories of all placid people, there is so little to tell. He loves best of all to be in a room, to sit in a chair if he can, and to smoke and smoke all day long. His gestures are preferably those of a Jamali mast. He makes odd signs in the air, on the ground, or on his thigh, as if he were writing something in imaginary letters, but in an indistinct and abbreviated way. Okay. He mumbles a little to himself, and if asked to question, he first pauses for a few seconds, and as as if considering his reply, and then to your charge in, he repeats your question for word, as if it were merely rhetorical and needing an answer. His voice is gentle, soft, and kind, and he breaks into a quiet smile as he speaks, though the purport of his words is lost to ordinary mortals. His favorite phrase is to repeat mutations of the moods and tenses of the verb bolna, to speak, and run something like this: बोलना बोलता था, बोलने को लगा, बोल वो के. This might mean anything, but its approximate translation is he was speaking, he began to speak, he actually spoke. I remember him once standing in front of Baba in Mahabaleshwar and saying, Bolenga, bolenge, lekin kab bolenge, malum nahi. He will speak, but when he will speak, I don't know. Perhaps these words referred of the breaking of Baba's silence, but like the obiter dicta of most musts, they might be interpreted in almost any way. In view of Baba's reticence about the precise work and that he does with musts, it is naturally out of the question to speculate about the reasons why Baba has to often call Ali Shah to him. But he obviously finds him useful since between the first contact in 1943 and the end of July 1947, he has called Ali Shah on 20 different occasions. I can recall once remarking to Baba how tired he looked after emerging from a session with Ali Shah, and Baba then explained that he had to work extra hard with him because of his sleepy and sluggish temperament. On the credit side, however, Ali Shah's perennial messitude is probably a help. Yeah, messitude is probably 1 minute.
Sorry.
Yeah, is probably a help.
Sorry. Yeah, probably a help here.
Yeah, for he is easily pleased, and Baba has often explained that in order to achieve the purposes of his work, he has first to get his must into the best possible mood. Ali Shah gives the impression of being useful to Baba as a first line reserve must when there is urgent spiritual work to be done. He lives in Ahmednagar, where so many of Baba's disciples also live, and so it is easy to get at. He is never difficult and never refuses to come to Baba, and as long as he gets a quiet room and plenty of cigarettes, he seems content to be anywhere. Perhaps the most interesting occasion of all the 20 contacts was the period of Baba's seclusion on Anga, Angiras Rishi Hill, a forest-clad mountain in one of the wildest parts of central provinces, about 100 miles south of Raipur. Imagine a verdant forest clocking the harsh contours of a broken mountain's track, and in the curving vale, brooks and rivulets babbling over the stones to join the sacred Mahanadi, whose source lies only a few miles away. In the days of old, it is said, four great rishis passed their lives in these lonely forests and in the scattered hamlets that lie between the hills. The tales of these great saints are still handed down from one generation to another. The four great rishis were known as Angiras Rishi, Shringri, Shringi Rishi, Muchkunta Rishi, and Kunmag Rishi. Oh. Jal Kerawala, to whom Baba had entrusted the selection and preparation of a suitable place for his seclusion, chose the hill connected with Angiras Rishi. He gave orders for a hut to be built on its summit, had the rough track on the foot of the hill made passable for cars arranged for men to bring water, milk, and vegetables up the hill, and in short, saw to all the details of making Baba's seclusion smooth and easy. Baba and his men came to this wild hilltop on the last day of October 1945. And for 4 days, Baba spent most of the day sitting alone with Ali Shah in a hut which had been prepared for the must on the lower slopes of the hill. Thereafter, Ali Shah was sent back to Ahmednagar, and for final week, Baba continued his silent work alone. in his special hut on the summit of the hill. On one of these latter days, Baba emerged after having sat for many hours in complete seclusion, his face more drawn and weary than Adi ever remembered having seen it, and said that a gigantic disaster would overwhelm the world, that would wipe out three-quarters of mankind. Adi was deeply stirred, not only by the anguish on Baba's face, but also because he spontaneously dictated these words immediately on emerging from his seclusion, as if the work done during that seclusion had been specifically related to the world passion of which he spoke. Another unusual period of seclusion that Ali Shah shared with Baba was on one of the great fortresses seized by Shivaji from the Mughals. As the traveller from the south approaches to within 40 miles of Pune, the road rises to a small pass and then swings 800 feet down to a arable dark brown fields on either side of the Nira river. From this pass, the northern horizon is broken by the long irregular crests of Purandar and Vajirgarh, twin fortresses, of which Purandar is higher, its summit lying 4,500 feet above sea level. In March 1947, Baba declared that he wished to go into seclusion, into a place connected with Shivaji, and for various practical reasons, Purandar was as the most suitable. Ali Shah was brought from Ahmednagar and was with Baba there for 8 days. This was in mid-April, when the sun, by inveterate observance, burns in an azure sky from sunrise until sunset. But through some whim of the gods, a ferocious cyclone surged in from the Arabian Sea and struck the west coast of India with an unusual violence. The fortress of Purandar was caught in the skirts of this storm. Its summit was lost in mists and in coralites scoured by torrents of muddy water. Oh, English words.
Colors are basically gullies.
Yeah, it's the rivulets. Yeah,
rivulets.
the
Yeah.
muddy,
Correct.
muddy rivulets. Yeah. After 8 days on this gale swept hill, Baba moved south to Satara for 5 days, taking Ali Shah with him. And one day, for several hours, Baba sat alone within the walls of the ruined fortress of Ajinkatara that rises steeply behind the town. Satara, like Purandar, has many links with life of Shivaji, and only 8 miles away, Swami Ramdas, the Sadguru and the spiritual mentor of Shivaji, took Samadhi on the hill fortress of Sajangarh. Sajangarh, yeah. These then are but two of the score of contacts between Ali Shah and Baba, and those with a predilection for dates should refer to the supplement under Ahmednagar for a list of all the different contacts.
Okay, we just quickly see the contacts at Ahmednagar.
Hobby. Predilection means some kind of hobby.
Yeah.
Keen interest.
Aurangabad. Yeah, Ahmednagar, Ali Shah. Oh, and Babajan also has come. Okay. And Babajan, Maniram, Pahalwan, Sikandar Shah, and Sonar. So these are all the masts that came to were brought to Ahmednagar, and the dates are between 1943 through 1947. We learned how many times he has been brought to Ahmednagar. Then Baba Jan was brought in 1929. Then there's Baba Jan, okay, Maniram in 1947, Pahalwan 1947 again, Sikandar Shah 1947 March, Sonar in 1946 December. You want to read up just the Ali Shah one, the description maybe. This delightful mast, one of Baba's favorites, is fully described in chapter 2. We are reading that. He's a perfect Jamali mast and has all the characteristics of such a mast and is on the fifth plane. Baba's contact and work with him began in 1943, and since then he has called him constantly for special work. Baba has had him on several special occasions when he has been in seclusion, once in Angira's Rishi Hill, once on Purandar Fort, once in Mahabaleshwar, and then in Satara. The dates of multifarious contacts are given in the adjacent column overleaf. So right from 1943 to 1947, the places were Mehrabad, Pimpalgaon, Aurangabad, Pimpalgaon, thrice, Hyderabad again. Hyderabad DN means Deccan because there's a Hyderabad even in Pakistan. And Y, which we just learned, Angira's Rishi Hill linked to 4 rishis, Mehrabad again, then Baba's place of seclusion, Mahabaleshwar, then Satara, Purandar, and all the way up to 1947 May. Yeah, so.
Yeah, I mean, it is quite intriguing to see that Baba was so intensely working with Musk during this period of Second World War. If you see the whole period,
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's very deep link.
It's just
There is a
that
very deep link, obviously.
Yeah,
Between
it's
the
a
war
very
and
small glimpse that we are seeing in this page.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Jay Baba,
Intense,
Karthik,
complicated work. Yeah.
you mentioned about Baba Jan, but Baba Jan was a perfect master, and
Yes.
and so in a different category as compared to Masts.
Agreed. Yeah. So she's above
Yes.
must category. You're right. But then Donkins has added Baba Jan here. But she was, I mean, she's obviously perfect master, and without her, the whole process wouldn't have started, right? So,
But from her behavior and the way she treated people and all that, her
must like.
she was like must like, she lives in rags and under the open tree without going anywhere and all that, and not necessarily like Sai Baba or Narayan Maharaj or.
I think even Sai Baba was also not behaving normally. It's like he was not behave like a normal person. He was also like in the some different mood always about the Sai Baba. That's what.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there are certain.
I think we should read about Sai Baba. There is from Pune Center. We can read it. Maybe make it digital and then try to read that. That's a very good book from Pune Center with a lot of Baba connects also given. It's not just a book on Sai Baba. It also connects Baba's relationship with Sai Baba. Yeah, I have that book in physical form. Yeah.
Okay.
Sanjay, if I may add, I think there is a reference that if you want materialistic or if you want materialistic achievements or you have materialistic goals, then probably we can contact Sai Baba. Somewhere it's mentioned somewhere. I don't know.
No. Yeah, it is there. So all that is there. Baba said that. Baba said that multiple times.
Yes.
Don't come to me if you want material things.
Yes.
For that you have Shirdi Sai Baba. Yeah.
Yes.
Interesting.
We can go back to that page and finish.
Yeah, maybe.
Alicia, how many pages are left?
Yes.
I think we are just almost done. These pictures of Alicia.
Let's do that. Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, so we can finish off the 2-3
at the time
paras
of
that
writing.
Yeah, from there, correct.
Yeah. At the time of writing, September 1947, Ali Shah, on instructions from Baba, is settled at Mehrabad, and there is no doubt that in recent months he has been progressively more normal in behavior. He still combines the moods and tenses of the verb bolna in the oldest ways, but he now quite often speaks sanely and clearly, asks pertinent questions, gives clear answers, and makes shrewd comments on people and things. He has a special room of his own, and despite his manifest change in behavior, he is generally so quiet that one barely realizes his presence. In this, he is, of course, a striking contrast to Muhammad, whose absurd yet discerning banter from the first light of dawn until the sun sinks beyond the western hills is a constant advertisement that he, Muhammad, is very much alive. Okay. And so these two musts with whom Baba has done so much work. We missed some lines. I think there was one line missed.
Yeah, it just says so much
Yeah,
work
it
and then
abruptly ends. Yeah, Ali Shah gives a new lights a new cigarette. One picture of his. Yeah, he enjoys the first puff. Okay, with
two
Muhammad Mast.
favorites,
Okay,
Muhammad and yeah.
the two favorites at Mehrabad. Muhammad amuses as being photographed, and Ali Shah scowls quizzically. Wow, what a word! Quizzically at Muhammad. Note the inevitable
Physical.
cigarette in Ali Shah's hand. September 1947. Go down. I think the line could be ending here in the next
After
para.
this, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So
and
let's just see the context and come back. Yeah.
yeah.
And
And
so
so these two great musts with whom Baba has done so much work and who have perhaps shared some of Baba's manifold burdens are now together at Mehrabad and take an ever interesting interest in the daily life and in those who live and work there under the inspiration of Baba's love and guidance.
super.
Tar Meher Baba ki jai.
Baba ki jai.
There's a map reference to C9.
Yeah, so actually there's quite a lot of map references that we didn't go to. So we'll see all of those places. Purandar is here. Why? Then Satara, of course, got mentioned again. Then there's Angiras Hill, right? That's central. Angiras Hill.
All right.
Yeah, here it is to the right. Angiras Rishi Hill. And what are the other places that were mentioned? Oh, yeah, Ahmednagar, of course, was also a map reference, but then Ahmednagar is very familiar to all of us. Okay, so on that note, we can wrap up for today. Apologies for the recording mishap. We will remind each other and monitor that more carefully, I presume. But given that this has happened only twice in 3 years, I'm not very disappointed, though I'm hurt.
We're too keen to jump into reading.
I know. That's the way.
Yeah, Jai Baba.
Jai Baba, Jai Baba.
Jai Baba. It was Jai Meher Baba. Tar Meher
Jai
Baba
Baba.
ki jai.
Jai Baba, everybody. Have a great week ahead. And, we will catch up next Saturday. Ashish, are you going to